Priscilla?
She said it.
Actually, I said yes to overrule. I thought I said yes to overrule to
Okay.
hear it, but
And I said, yeah, and I'm saying yes.
Okay, we have one, you can help me here, Lynn. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yes. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 no's. And is that 9 members?
I'm counting.
Yes.
Is Stephen a voting member?
No.
Okay, so I've got, yeah, one, yeah,
Okay, double check my vote count, Lynn.
7.
It's 9.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. The
Yep.
chair is overruled. We will,
Hold on a minute. Point of order. What is the vote? The vote is 5 in favor of overruling and 4 against overruling?
yes, sir.
And have you voted as the chair?
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes, sir.
What
It's a
way did you
9-member
vote?
board. We have 5 in favor and 4 opposed. Okay. Now I'm going to consult counsel here. Pietro, would you recommend that we move to go into executive session for a discussion of board training, or should we simply recess until 7:40 for the purpose of board training?
So, David, I would encourage you to do the latter. Take a recess, and then during the recess time, we can privately engage in a training session.
Okay. Then
David, I'm so sorry to interrupt. Can I put a 7C on the
let's have
agenda?
it.
We have a letter from Harley Sterling, our food and nutrition director, and I would like to read it on 7C.
You have it, but it's 7D because discussion of para comments will be 7C.
I thought that was overruled. I'm confused.
No, it has not been overruled. It's been sustained. The objection to the chair's ruling was sustained by the board. So I am going to declare us in recess at 6:41 for the purpose of board training. It is anticipated that we will return to public session at 7:41. Okay, so if you can do whatever is appropriate, Lynn, to get your board into training mode, let's do it.
Okay, thank you. I'm just finishing up on that. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is, I think what I'm going to have to do is move everyone out of the meeting, and they can go back into the waiting room. Thank you. The board will be in recess until 8:08. Thank you.
Okay. The board went into recess for the purpose of board training with Pietro Lynn, who is the district's attorney. At the end of that recess, we continued it for another 5 minutes for the sake of those of us who needed to take the break. I want to just very briefly update anyone who's with us tonight, who's not a board member that participated in that training. What's next up on our agenda will be to approve the minutes. We have a couple of discussion items, and we have 4 items which we've added under other business, which I would like you to be aware of. 7A, we will receive a very brief update on the status of audit. 7B will be about school preparedness for the fall. 7C, and Priscilla, if you're here, you may need to help me with this one because you had asked for some discussion, and when we get there, if you could be more specific about that, my notes are shaky, I would appreciate it. And then 7D, Lynn has a communication from Harley Sterling, who's the food service director. And I'm ready to go. Lynn, if you're ready to go. Okay. We will be, by the way, passing over the item 4A, which is business office executive session update from Pietro Lynn, because there is no update to give at this time. So we are now down to item 5, which is review and approve the minutes. I'd like to have a motion on the minutes, please. If I could have a hand or a voice, please.
I approve the minutes.
Thank you, Lynn. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Okay, and Deb has a second. I presume everyone has had the opportunity to examine those minutes. Are there any corrections to those minutes?
I do, Lynn Morgan.
Lynn, go right ahead, please.
My name was left off of those in attendance.
Okay, are there any other corrections?
The same. This is Cheryl. My name was left off of those in attendance. Cheryl Charles.
Thank you, Cheryl. Any other corrections? All right then, all in favor of approving the minutes as corrected. I'm going to roll call you. Priscilla.
Yes.
Thank you. Rick.
Yes.
Jason.
Yes.
Deb.
Aye.
Thank you. I'm confused as to who my voting member is. Are both Lynn and Charles voting members here?
No, Charles is.
Okay. Well,
I'm the
in that case, I think we're going to need to have a voting member move those minutes, which I think you did. Am I correct, Lynn? That's what I wrote down.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Charles, would you move the minutes, please?
Sure.
And if you would, move the minutes as corrected. I presume that we can get away with that. And Deb, if you are willing to accept that, I would like you to give us the second again, please.
I accept the change. Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I'm going to quickly begin that roll call, not recall, vote again. Priscilla, how do you vote?
Did he?
We're the minutes, Priscilla. Do you vote yes?
I'm sorry, I was reading them over. Yes.
Thank you. Rick?
Yes.
Jason?
Aye.
Deb?
Aye.
Charles?
Aye.
Brenda?
Aye.
Jessa?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes. Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved. New business for discussion and action. Approve moving flex spending account from TD Bank to Community Bank. Can you handle this one, Lynn? Or do we need some help from?
I think Teresa is still in the meeting. Teresa, are you still here?
I am.
Oh, good.
Tell us what you need, Teresa. Please.
Okay, what currently and it has been for very long years, the it has to do with the HSA, excuse me, that flex spending account. It's currently with the TD Bank, and at this time we've tried to get access to the account online and other things, especially even with the times that are going on right now. We don't have access to that account online or to monitor it or anything like that. If we want access to it, I've been informed by the representative that we'll pay a $60 a month fee, which I think is just outrageous. Our other option would be to move all our accounts over to their bank and they'll cut us a break, which probably won't happen because they're all with Community Bank. which we've been very successful with, very good business partnership. So in respect to this, in order to avoid any service charges, to avoid anything, and to kind of move with continuity stuff, it's in our best interest to move that account over to Community Bank. And then we actually have the ability to monitor that account, because there's a lot of activity with it on a daily basis in respect to the health insurance, like I said, deductibles and other things. So that's the premise behind trying to move it from that bank over to Community.
Thank you, Teresa. So you're looking for a motion to approve moving the flex spending account from TD Bank to Community Bank. Can I have a motion on that, please?
I will
Hold on.
make that motion.
Okay, that's your motion, Brenda?
Yes.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, and the second was from Jason Terry?
No, from Charles.
Oh, from Charles. Thank you, Charles. All right, discussion under the motion. Yes, Priscilla.
Are there costs involved, or is this because it's a new year? It's just like a fresh account? Because
Yeah,
we're only moving the flex spending, right? That's all you're talking about is just that
That
one
is
section.
correct. And there won't be cost involved in that respect. It'll be more paperwork. And currently, the superintendent and one board member are the only two that actually have access to that account. So even throughout this whole school year, I've not had the ability to even ask questions about the account. We even got flack one time when somebody went in to make a deposit into that account that we do bi-weekly, and they're like, well, you're not authorized. And we're like, we're just making a deposit and everything else. So we've struggled to get information. And so in order for us to be able to monitor like we're supposed to, again, we would have to do a bunch of paperwork. So through this whole thing, even with the representative from TD, he said, you know, the writing's on the wall. Best thing you can do is just move it over to Community with the rest of yours.
Thank you,
So is it
Teresa.
FSA and whatever the other one is?
Oh, it's the health equity. It's where it's linked to our health equity for the HRA, HSA, and the FSAs.
Jack, do you have a hand?
Well, I just wanted to say that TD Bank is also the owner of Ameritrade, which has been particularly non-responsive to us. And they've really turned into a bit of a bad actor dealing with municipalities, not only across the state, but across the country. And if they don't want our business, I don't think we should give it to them.
Further discussion under the motion.
Do we have any other business with TD Bank
That Ameritrade is the TD.
other than
subsidiary.
TD Ameritrade? Do we have any other accounts with TD Bank?
Teresa, is that a question you can answer?
We do have another one, which is actually on the agenda next. Which that one is the old Rockingham food service account, because that's one of those situations that's just been sitting there along with the Westminster account, which is a different one. That one's, I think, with River Valley. But other than that, I don't personally have any dealings with the bank. I do believe that there are some, and I should know this, I know, but like the student activity account, I think the Rockingham Middle School has theirs there. But again, it's not something that they are doing their bank statement reconciliations and everything else, but it's not like we're talking about an HRA, HSA account that's being hit every single day where funds are being pulled back and forth and everything else. And it's critical that we monitor it. And there was a time that I believe Rhonda, I'm not sure how she monitored it, but she did keep a spreadsheet to keep track of things different. But to not have access in this day and age to be able to check that account, or if that account needs funding, we're doing a really, we're jumping through hoops to transfer funds over to that if we needed it.
Thank you. Thank you,
I would just
Teresa.
like to point out that when we say we at a WNESU meeting, we're talking about WNESU business and not necessarily Rockingham or Westminster. Those accounts are separate from the WNESU.
Yeah, the as far as the flex spending goes, there's only one account, and all 4 districts contribute to that one account.
Further discussion under the motion?
So
All
has
right.
hand up. Priscilla
David,
has
one
her hand up.
question.
Yes, Priscilla.
But TD Bank would still have the 403B, right? The one that we had so much problem with.
It has no bearing on this particular account. They're not related in any way.
Okay, so but that would continue then with TD Bank is what you're saying.
Yeah, and I wouldn't call the TD Ameritrade TD Bank at all. I mean, I understand that they're all, the name might be connected in that respect and how they are, but the TD Ameritrade 403B is definitely handled a lot differently. And, we have representatives in a third party that handles a lot of that. The payments don't even go to TD Ameritrade anymore. As of May, now they go to JP Morgan.
Okay, are we ready for the motion? All right then. The motion is to approve moving the flex spending account from TD Bank to Community Bank. And I'm going to roll call this beginning with you, Cheryl. Was that?
Was I?
Sorry about that. Yes,
Okay, thank
approved.
you. Jessa?
Yes.
Thank you. Brenda?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
Deb?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Rick?
Aye.
Priscilla?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We've approved moving the flex spending account from TD Bank to Community Bank. 6B is approved closing previous food service accounts and transfer to SU Food Service. Can you also speak to this one, Teresa?
Yes, and this goes back to when the districts were individual districts. And there was a time before me that I believe that out of the Rockingham Middle School, it kind of was the hub, if I understand correctly. It was sort of the hub for the food service program. And so they actually had the title, so it's titled Rockingham Food Service, but it was for the food service program for all the schools, and deposits were made into that particular account. And maintained that way. Westminster had its own, because Westminster ran its food service program, it had its own account also. And so with those, they've been sitting dormant and everything else. And at this point, I'm trying to clean a bunch of things up and everything else. And eventually those funds belong to the food service program.
Thank you. So what you're looking for, Teresa, is a motion to approve closing the previous food service accounts and transferring those funds to the SU Food Service, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I'd like to have a motion on that. Priscilla, would you mind making that motion?
I'm sure. I move that we approve the closing previous food service accounts and transfer the accounts to the SU Food Service program.
Thank you, Priscilla. I'd like a second, please.
Second.
Okay, that was you, Lynn?
No, that was me, Charles.
Okay, Charles.
I'm like Lynn.
Sorry, everyone from Athens sounds the same to me. All right, discussion under the motion.
This is Rick. So if it's a Rockingham food account, do we have any trail of where those funds came from and that they actually are SU funds and not Rockingham funds?
I would answer that with the fact that I have not traced and done a formal tracing back of those funds to verify 100% that those are completely, Wyndham Northeast Supervisory Union funds for the food service program and not something that's for Rockingham, other than pulling up, other than going back, like I said, and individually doing a trace back to the prior FY 18 and 19 school year and bring it forward. I, to some level, have believed and trusted in what was explained to me from the outgoing accountant and from people that are still on staff now.
And how much is in those? How much is in that account?
The Rockingham account has $71,000. And the-
71,000?
Correct.
71,000, not 7,100.
Nope, 71,000, according to
Well,
the bank.
I think I'd like to see an audit trail of where all that money came from before we transfer it.
Okay,
Rick, I'm going to make a suggestion. You could offer to amend the motion to include a reconciliation of that account.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to consider that, Rick?
Mm-mm.
No,
That was a no. All right, we have a no.
I'd rather shoot the motion down and like have another one to do an audit of that account to figure out where that money belongs to. I mean, 71,000 is a lot of money for my boards that has my board's name on it to make sure that it's like.
Yeah, Jack, I do have your hand. However, I do want to go back to
We can
Priscilla,
take our
who was
money.
the original maker of the motion, and get a sense of what her feeling is. Priscilla?
If it's Rockingham funds, I'm not sure we have the authority to move those funds. I think only Rockingham would have the authority to move those funds to the SU.
Okay. Do you wish to withdraw your motion, Priscilla?
Yes, I'd like to withdraw my motion, please.
The motion has been withdrawn. I did see a hand from Mr. Breyer. Just parenthetically, I'm going to ask the board before I recognize Jack if it feels it would be best that we table this for tonight. Jack, go ahead.
I just want to make a point that this was originally set up as a fiscal conduit because at that time the SU did not have the power to run a program of this type, and so it had to be under the title of an individual board, and that's how this was set up under Rockingham. It was really Rockingham's aegis under which the program was run. It wasn't a Rockingham fund. It was effectively a fund of all the boards, but it had to be under somebody's name. Much the way if we bought a building somewhere, it would have to be under somebody's name. It wouldn't mean, say, if Westminster had the title that it was Westminster's building and not everybody's.
And that is great history to hear, but I would like to see some documentation. So I would make a motion of reconciling that account and to do some research on the history of that account as to how it was formulated and where the funds came from.
Rick, can you put that in the form of a motion to table and reconcile the account? I want to be clear that we've taken this off the table.
I would like to make a motion that we table. I don't have it in front of me, so I can't read it.
Well, we already have a motion open.
No, you don't.
No, it's withdrawn.
Priscilla
Okay.
withdrew hers. I would like to make a motion that we table the closing of the previous food service accounts and transferring to the SU food service until there is a reconciliation of that account and a documented history of that account and where those funds came from.
Thank you, Rick. Is there a second?
Second.
Jason, I saw I had a hand on a second. So we are under discussion. Anyone? All right then. The motion was to table until such time as a reconciliation has been performed. Are all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Wait, sorry.
Aye.
Wrong here. I'm going to roll call because we're doing a Zoom meeting. Priscilla.
Aye.
Thank you. Rick.
Aye.
Jason.
Aye.
Deb.
Aye.
Charles.
Aye.
Brenda.
Aye.
Jessa.
Aye.
Cheryl.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We have completed our new business under item 6. We are down to other business.
Point of order, David.
Yes, ma'am.
My point of order is that there are a number of people on here who have their mics open and there's a lot of background noise going on right now. I'd like them to stop, please. Can't hear some of the conversation because of it.
That's up to Lynn to mute participants.
Okay. Deb, your concern is duly noted, and as a matter of Zoom meeting courtesy, if those who do not need to have their mics on could mute, that would be very helpful. Okay. 7A, audit. Board members had distributed to them earlier in the day a letter from R.H.R. Smith, which explains some of the dynamics that caused the fiscal year 18-19 audit to be delayed. And also quite late in the afternoon, and Lynn, you've got to help me with this, I believe that the district did receive a draft audit, which the business office has not even had a chance to review it yet. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's a short report. It's called a draft short report of the audit. So it's really just the general numbers. There's 6 parts to it, but there's no detail.
Thank you, Ben. Priscilla, you are recognized.
If there were any deficiencies in that.
Point of order, there's a lot of background noise.
That's true. Priscilla, you're recognized.
Were there any deficiencies noted in that report? Because we haven't seen that.
Right. I did not note any. They didn't highlight anything. So what's going to happen is we're going to have to wait till we get the full report where they actually do a narrative with the numbers to explain. So I would think that by next month, all the answers, all the questions will be answered.
That's a whole nother month. Can we push that a little bit and maybe get it a little sooner?
I don't know.
This is for the previous year, 2019, not even for this year that we just are finishing.
I'm not sure if we could have a special meeting or if I send it out to all the board members, am I breaking open meeting law?
Well, my suggestion, Lynn, is that I think we need to get a little bit more information from R.H.R. Smith on timetable. And because we are dealing with the 18-19 fiscal year audit when we're closing out fiscal year 19-20, it would be appropriate, I believe, that if we have information that we can share with board members, that we do not wait until the July meeting, but schedule a special meeting to address it. It is a very much a pressing concern.
Yes, I'll have Chris Pratt put it together as soon as we get some answers and we get the report filled out a little more.
Okay.
But from the numbers I saw, it looks pretty much like things balanced.
Okay.
But I'm not an expert.
Thank you, Lynn. I'm going to recognize you, Priscilla, because I'm not sure if you had a follow-up on that. Otherwise, I'm going to go to Jack, who I believe had a hand up.
I am concerned with the delays.
Okay.
And I think we need more information.
Thank you.
So thank you for trying to get that.
Jack?
Just would say if we do have a special meeting, let's put this business with the food service into it as well, because that's $70,000 is 20% of the food service budget, and we really need to deal with it. And we're dealing with the fiscal year issue, and there's legal issues about having that pile of money just sit there over a fiscal year.
Okay, thank you, Jack. Anyone else before we move on? Okay, 7B is update on school opening procedures. Lynn, can you address that?
Right now, the superintendents are meeting. In fact, there's a meeting tomorrow afternoon with the Secretary of Education. What we're looking at is kind of in the air. So we're planning on thinking about opening schools, but that again could be changing. Everything is constantly changing. So things that they said 2 weeks ago have changed into last week and then this week. So the details of opening school are just not there. Our district had certain task forces within each school that talked, that got together and talked about things that they would need to do in their own building specific to keep spaces and all of that. However, with the spikes going on, and I just think that we'll probably know a lot more in a month. But I'm hoping to attend the meeting tomorrow to get some more information, and I wouldn't want to be the one to say anything about opening school at this point.
Priscilla, you asked for this adjustment. Do you have a question or any comment right now?
Yeah, the direction still from the state that we're hearing is that they will be opening, and I think our district does need to start being prepared for that. The superintendent told us that he was looking at 3 different plans, and I think by saying that you don't know and you're not preparing, that's making our public very, very nervous. I think we need to know that you are preparing 3 plans and that you are getting ready.
Lynn, let Priscilla finish and I'll let you respond. Thank you.
Because if you are preparing and you can share the fact of the 3 different plans, I think the public will feel much better about it. I think we need to communicate that and what we're doing in all 3 possible scenarios. If you have hesitation and that we might, for some reason that we might not. However, the governor also said that he would look at different districts. The spikes are either up in the Winooski area. We did have one family down in the Brattleboro area that caused a spike, a little bit of one yesterday, but that's contained all with that particular family. So I think we need to be thinking about the fact that, we've had at most 2 deaths in a month, and they seem to be going down across the country. So I think we need to be thinking about that. The South is where the problem is. Thank you. Go ahead, Lynn.
So, can you respond to Priscilla's concerns?
Well, I suppose that, we can elaborate. So the superintendent has put out a survey to the families to see, how they would feel, what they think. Would they send their students even if school was opened? We are working on 3 different models. The state will mandate what model we use. We are looking at PPEs and ordering them and stockpiling them.
PPE, please.
I'm sorry.
We know what it is, but just for the sake of
it. They're like protective equipment, personal protective equipment that people would use to protect themselves from other people in close proximity. So what we're doing, we will do what districts do in the state. The superintendents have formed a tight coalition, and what they're doing is planning together. Those details are, I'm not, at this point, I don't think they're firmed up. I think as soon as Superintendent Pratt actually gets that information together, which will be in the next couple of weeks, that information will come out. It will come out on our website. It will be communicated. If we are opening full scale, we will be definitely prepared with the equipment we need, with the personnel we need, with the kinds of interventions needed to protect the children and the staff. So these are upmost in our minds, and we are preparing. We're also continuing our summer meals program, which is very extensive. We're doing summer enrichment for our students remotely, and dropping off summer kits. And we're continuing to do Title I interventions with struggling readers. So we kind of closed the year about 3 days ago, and we're just getting the summer going. And I would think next week when Superintendent Pratt comes back, it'll be full force into what are we doing at the end of August. So yes, superintendents across the state are working on it. The Secretary of Education is working on it. They mandate what we do, what we can and cannot do, and we will certainly follow suit. We will do what is happening especially in this region, the southwestern region. of the state. Superintendent Pratt's very plugged in those kinds of decisions. So the preparations, the foundation's there. Anything final, anything absolute, I don't have it. Superintendent Pratt may, but I'm not sure anybody really has it at this point in time.
Lynn, would it be appropriate? Would it be appropriate if, in fact, we do have a special meeting in July in advance of the regular SU meeting that we put this on the agenda? Would you consider
Yes.
that to be appropriate, Priscilla?
I would like to see that because I think any updates we can give the parents as we move forward is something that we need to be doing. I mean, yes, they can opt to do homeschooling rather than send their children if that's what they really, really want to do. But I think that after homeschooling them for this semester, I'm not sure many parents are going to want to opt to do that.
Anything else on the topic?
My hands up.
We will do what the state mandates, and we will all within the state mandates, and we will do what other superintendents, what other schools around. We certainly will not be a district left behind. We'll be on the forefront.
Thank you, Lynn. Jason Terry, you have your hand up.
Lynn, you mentioned the survey. Is there any numbers that have come back on that?
Yeah, the superintendent is receiving those updates, and when he comes back, he will. Again, that's part of the information that he'll put out there. So I don't have those answers because I didn't generate the survey, so the answers didn't come to me. The results did not come to me.
Go ahead, Jason.
My point is, I'm hoping that he'll share that. I'm assuming he will. And
Yes, he will.
He did send out an email outlining what the plan is for the next season. So I think for any of us to get concerned about it right now. Sorry, let me retract that. It is a concern, but right now we have the email and that's what we're going with. And I think we all need to be prepared to do an audible and will the teachers be looped in to the plan? And will they be part of the action?
Everyone will be. It will be, yes, it will be definitely, definitely it will be involving everyone. Everyone will have their piece in whatever happens next fall.
Okay, and I just have one more thing, David. There's school that starts at a certain date, but there's also activities that start prior to that date, like football, field hockey, band, all those types of things. Is there any, I just want to make sure that somebody is aware that those students actually start technically school prior to school. So that's important too.
Yeah, and what we do is we will follow, again, we will follow the CDC, we'll follow the State Department of Health. All of those recommendations will be followed. Whether they tell us in person, out of person, remote, we're going to follow what the mandates are. What are the recommendations? What are the safest ways to do it?
I'm going to seek the board's forbearance here because I am aware it's 9:15 and we do have quite a few people in the room who may want to address us under communication and public comment. However, I see that we still have Principal Hodgson in attendance, and I would be very curious to know that, Chris, if you are able to, if you could give us just a very succinct update on how the extracurriculars are being handled at the high school. That's certainly where football and field hockey apply.
Sure. The best information I can give you right now is that the VPA is fully planning on soccer, field hockey, and cross country running in the fall, and they have not yet reached a decision about football. I would say that they are moving forward from a calendar perspective, and only really from a calendar perspective, with what I would refer to as business as usual. But I'm sure there will be certain, safety expectations above and beyond what we would see prior to COVID-19. But those haven't come out yet.
Thank you, Chris. Jason, I hope that's helpful. Do I have a hand? Anyone else? If not, I would like to move
Yeah,
on.
I had my hand up in the chat.
Sorry, Jess, I can't see you. Go ahead, please.
Oh, yeah, it's in the chat. Yeah, we're the southeast region of the state, not the southwest. The survey that went out, I would think there's results by now, and I'm eager to see them. But I don't think these discussions can wait till our next meeting because that's in late July. Private schools, some public schools, most universities and higher ed have already put out their plans based on each of the three scenarios or a combination thereof. I don't see why we can't do that. If it's going to be in-person limited attendance, hybrid, etc. And then also wait until the end of July is really late because I personally know of 2 families with 4 kids that are going to homeschool next year. I don't know how many more there is. The superintendent should know. But making them wait till close to August 1st for people to choose private school or homeschool and get their curriculums together and their plans with the state is really late. And I don't think, one, we would prefer to keep these kids in public school, I would think. But if we can't put out solid guidance before the end of July at our next meeting, they're not going to wait.
Thank you, Jessa. Jack?
I think that Jess's point is well made. One of the discussions that has been part of the para discussion that'll be coming up shortly is what paras we're going to need during the course of the next year, and that is really a dependency on whether we're doing home, whether we're teaching kids at home, whether we're teaching them in the building, whether we're doing some sort of hybrid model. And it's really important for us to know that. I appreciate the complexity. I appreciate the uncertainty, but and I appreciate the fact that there are probably going to be 3 different plans, but we ought to have the 3 different plans out and part of the discussion as early as we possibly can. And that was probably a month ago.
Okay, that's a pretty good segue into 7C, which is a discussion of how those pairs are going to be utilized. Priscilla, I believe that you requested this one. Would you like to speak to that, and then we can see if we get a response from administration?
Yeah, I also asked that that be kind of put after we listen to what the public comments is on the pairs so that we could discuss it as a group.
Okay.
With the knowledge of what they were going to say. Is that a possibility at all, or do you want to go ahead
If
with
there are
it?
no objections from members, then I think we could go ahead and do that.
I have one.
Objections. Yes, sir.
Excuse me, I have one. One of the things that's important here is we've been having a back and forth now for a couple of months about whether or not we were going to have public negotiations, public discussions with NEA members over the terms of their contracts. And this has been an issue that's just been wildly controversial within that membership. We have here among our members tonight virtually the entire negotiating committee. We have people that are willing to make comments, or at least are working tonight, members of the NEA negotiations committee. If we're to get into this in any detail, what we are doing is in effect publicly negotiating on something that was supposed to be a controversial item that has not been agreed to. And I think it's really important for us to figure out what we're doing here. If we're going to get into discussions with the NEA negotiating representatives and have the representatives of the committees in here, what we're really doing is we're having a by proxy open negotiation session. And I want it to be understood that the reason I voted for having this discussion was because I was voting for having open negotiations. That's what we're doing here, whether we pretend we are or not, that's what we're doing. And I want to make certain people are clear that once we've done that, we have ended the discussion about whether or not we're negotiating in public or not, because that's what we're doing right now.
Jack, your comments are duly noted. I will point out that we do have one more item here under 7, which is a communication from Harley Sterling, the food service director. Then we'll move to communication and public comment. I will remind the board that during communication and public comment, we hear what the public has to say, but it is not a dialogue. Priscilla has requested that we prepare to have some dialogue after communication and public comment.
Right.
And I am hopeful that we can moderate what might be a useful and productive discussion. So I'm prepared to move us in that direction if the board is ready to move in that direction. So if you're ready, Lynn, you have communication from Harley Sterling.
Yes, I'm going to put it on our screen. I believe Harley's here and is going to read it. Harley, are you? Yes, Harley's here and he's ready to go, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me put it on the screen. This is a request from Harley and he's going to read it. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't push share. Whoops. There we go. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I recognize that everyone's had a long night, so I won't waste time. I'm just going to read the letter that I composed yesterday, which is an open letter to the WNESU School Board regarding supplemental pay for our Essential School Nutrition Program staff. So, dear representatives of the WNESU Board, I write to ask you to allow the WNESU School Nutrition Program to provide our essential staff with a supplemental pay stipend for their unprecedented dedication and performance during the emergency school closure. Since March 23rd, our school nutrition program heroes have been making it possible to provide universal free meals to every child in our communities. To date, we have prepared over 125,000 meals. These meals are fully reimbursed by USDA and the state of Vermont, and they've generated vital revenue for WNESU. Because of the efforts of our staff, we have submitted claims for over $350,000 in reimbursements since March 23rd. By my estimation, this represents an increase of $180,000 from our expected revenue during that time, and approximately $140,000 net increase after we deduct food and supply expenses. I ask you to commit to letting us provide a supplemental emergency pay stipend of $2.75 per hour worked for our most essential staff members, the 7 names listed above, who each have worked more than 24 hours per week since March 23rd. This one-time stipend will cost approximately, well, exactly $7,986. In closing, we're tremendously fortunate in WNESU to have the most dedicated and talented school nutrition team you'll find anywhere. Faced with an unprecedented emergency situation that posed an unknown risk to these people's health and their families, faced with the option of staying at home, each of them made the decision to come to work under tremendously difficult conditions to be there for the children of our communities. We owe them a great deal, and this supplemental pay is an opportunity to show our appreciation for their courage and dedication to the well-being of our kids. I thank you for your thoughtful consideration.
Thank you, Harley.
Yes, sir. I made some graphs here when I had an initial conversation about this with Mr. Pratt, which was showing the increase in meal output and the increase in revenue compared to the normal school year during this time. Approximately, we've been working about 2.5 times our normal output, with approximately 50% of our staff either unable to work a full-time shift because they lack childcare or they were high risk.
Hey, Harley, thank you. What I would like to say is that it has not been the practice or policy of this board to take action on items that are not part of a warned agenda. Um, this certainly would fall within that criteria. I would be entirely happy if we were to put this on the special agenda that we seem to be building tonight to address the issue of both our audit and how we're preparing for school. So once again, I thank you for making the pitch on behalf of the people who've been working with you, because I don't think there's anyone in the room here tonight that doesn't realize how exceptionally fortunate we've been to have, the kind of, dedication and perseverance that WNESU Food Service has shown. And I know what you've done because I've been stuck behind those school buses more than once with their red lights on while they've been making those deliveries. So unless there are any questions from board members, I would like to consider this when we have a special meeting in July. I'm not hearing any takers, but then again, I can't see the screen. Lynn?
Jessa seems to have her hand up.
Okay. Well,
Oh,
in that
sorry,
case,
that was for the previous issue.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I'll take my hand down. There you go.
Thank you, Lynn. I would like to get my room back now if we can arrange that.
David, I have a question.
Yes, Jason.
Harley, I didn't see it. I could have missed it on your chart there. Is there a breakdown on the cost of food that you can also provide next month?
I did not provide the cost of food in the letter. All of my estimates are grossly inflated on cost, but I would be happy to provide a very detailed breakdown.
That'd be great. Thank you. I appreciate all your efforts and everyone else's.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. We are down to communication and public comment. Lynn, are you aware of whether we have any members in the room who would be making a statement on behalf of the group? Because if there are, I would like to take that statement or those statements first, and then we'll open it up to any other members of the public who would like to address the board.
Right now, I'm seeing a bunch of blank screens, and I'm not sure if anyone is willing to talk. Everyone has their, as far as I can tell, their microphones. I guess.
Lynn, I'm looking too, and I'm not aware that we actually have anyone for communication and public comment. With the board's forbearance, we did hold Priscilla's question about discussion of para staffing. If you think that you can address that on behalf of the superintendent, I think this would be an appropriate time to do it.
David, were you going to read the letter from Karen?
Oh, Priscilla, yes, that was part of communication and public comment, and I'm remiss. If you have it, could you read it out, please? Because I cannot easily retrieve it on this screen.
Right. So Karen Hand had written a letter that she submitted. She wrote the one along with the one that we had received, and a lot of our members of the board received these, but it said, in addition to the letter I already submitted, I would like to take this chance to express serious concerns and disappointments related to the school year from March 13, 2020 through June 12, 2020. When our children were first sent home due to the breakout of the virus, we had 3 weeks of no instruction and very little to no communication from the district. My child may only be a kindergartner at SRES, but our education is extremely important to us. School closed when we were just reaching critical phases with shown improvement and progress with my school's anxiousness, working closely with her amazing teacher, Holly Taylor, and her guidance counselor, Stephanie Fuller. While these school members were able to reach out when they could, it did not replace the one-on-one help and instruction. As a parent, one inherently wants to answer their child's questions and ease their concerns. I was unable to provide her with any answers at all. Being able to eventually receive a packet of worksheets was welcomed with open arms and minds. Once we were given the iPads and had daily class meetings, it did take away some of my daughter's anxiety and consistent worry, but in no way replaced the special assistance she would receive at school through the assistance of a qualified faculty member who can assist our children with their needs while they continue to homeschool. My partner had to take a 9-week leave from his essential job to help me. This has taken a huge toll on our family. However, my daughter completed every single assignment given through worksheets and through the computer assignments. She worked her tail off. During all of this, I'm witnessing a school board member posting things on social media about how the parents should just be grateful for the free meals. Really, I tried reaching out to Mr. Pratt numerous times to no avail. We were still having spring break. I was shocked when we looked back to the 3 weeks of no school from March 13th on, then to find out on social media we were ending the school year a week early because of the 3 snow days. I'm writing to you as a concerned member of the Wyndham Northeast community. I'm very much concerned about the upcoming school year, especially without paraeducators that were let go. Who will be there to help the kids who can't wear a mask all day and stay in their one main room all day instead of leaving for art, music, lunch, etc.? Who will be there to help? The answer is not the one clinician who will have an office in the SRES building this year. One woman cannot do that job for the whole building. If there's no change and the communication with our district remains as dead silent as it has been, I am seriously looking to move out of this district or homeschool through the Northeast Online Teaching Institute. I've already had more feedback and support from them than I could get in the entire school year for 2020. This would hurt my daughter terribly in the socialization department, but at least we'd have support. Without our paraeducators and with all the different ways this upcoming school year could turn out, our kids will suffer greatly. As I mentioned earlier, my child did the work and she did all of it. So I would like to know who will be there to help the children who did do the work and are going to be in the classroom having to redo everything they've already done. Who will be there to work one-on-one with the kids who need to move on and learn new things? Who will be there to support our children and our teachers? Please take this letter with the concern and seriousness it is being written with. I hope the wrongs are righted. And then there was a list of things that were tasks that were outlined that you're going to need some regular responsibilities that teachers and staff perform and help with from other people. Conduct daily health checks, including temperature screenings on every child entering the school and stepping onto the bus. Additional mental and social emotional supports to vulnerable students. Oversee required hand sanitizing and washing of every student as they enter the building and staggered through the day. Assist students, especially younger children and those with special needs, during frequent required hand washings. Ensure students, particularly young ones, are properly wearing masks and not touching or removing them. Monitor classes that have been spread out to multiple rooms to allow 6 feet of physical distancing. Reinforce social distancing of students during recess. Monitor students eating lunch in classrooms if teachers have another class to teach, prep period, or other duty to perform. That list only scratches the surface of the additional work that will be required to ensure that WNESU can safely return to in-person learning in the fall. I'm going to stop there. That's basically the essence.
That's Karen Hand, am I correct, Priscilla?
Karen Hand.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Thank you for reading that out, Priscilla. I believe that is going to wind up communication and public comment unless we have a late commenter. Lynn, are you aware of any? Okay, so under
Oh, I think you have someone.
Oh, who have I got? I would like to hear it.
Hi, it's Jessica Akama.
Hi, Jessica.
Can you hear me? Hi. I'm not going to say a lot, but just real quick, I'm coming to you as a parent of a child in our district. My child is in 9th grade. He just graduated to 10th grade. And he is a special needs student, but he does not require one-on-one para support. But he requires extra support. And I just want you all to take that into consideration. It's not just the kindergartners that are going to need extra help. It's our high schoolers as well, you know, and we're trying to get them into the world. And I only have a few more years to do it. And that was an amazing letter by Karen Hand. I'm quite moved by it. So yeah, I'm just asking that you take that into consideration as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Lynn, is there anyone else? Oh,
If- I do have a comment.
we're under communication and public comment. Is it Jessa that just raised that?
Yeah. I actually do have a comment more as a parent. I don't know if you want it here or.
Well, it would be, I believe it would be more appropriate under director's comments because you are a director, Jessica.
I will wait.
Thank you. Lynn, do we have anyone else under communication and public comment?
I honestly don't see anyone. I think, you know, I think that was it.
Okay, all right. In that case, Priscilla had asked to have a discussion about para staffing. And I guess the best way to start this, Priscilla, would be to ask you what it is you would like to discuss and see if administration can respond to it.
I guess I brought it up because I wanted to know how the board feels about the situation. I mean, we were really not involved in the number of RIFs that took place and were put out there. That was something that was done by administration. And so we're looking at helping the schools to run in a very efficient and productive way that will help our children to become really good citizens and be able to socialize and be able to not have been hurt by what has gone on in the social distancing and all of that stuff that continues to go on. So I just wanted to know whether other board members were as concerned as I was about the fact that so many of them were riffed, and whether, you know, and how we are going to look at running the schools and helping the administration to adjust for the number of paras, and maybe looking at how many need to be brought back so we can run an efficient school in the fall.
Well, the board is queried by its member. Does anyone care to respond to Priscilla?
We as board members don't really have the foresight or knowledge to evaluate that. That's up to the administration, which it would include the central office, and I would hope that it would include the principals and some of the staff there. I can't begin to tell you how many janitors we need, much less paras or anything else that we need. So that's, you know, it does seem like a large number, but I personally don't have the I can't tell you what we need there. So, and that I would, you know, as much compassion as I have for all the layoffs and what have, I don't think that it's the board's role to get into micromanaging that part of the business.
Thank you, Rick. Molly?
So I think Priscilla is very passionate about this, and I don't think any of the rest of us members are not, but just like Rick said, this isn't our position. We can cite our concerns to administration through however kind of, you know, communication you choose, but it's not our job as a board to tell any of them how many teachers or paras or janitors or anything else. We have good people in those positions, and I trust that they're gonna do the right thing as administrators when school gets put back into place. If we need more paras, then I'm sure that they're gonna bring paras back on. We're in a situation that is very different, and everybody's trying to make the best of it. But this isn't our spot. This isn't what a board member, we're fiscally responsible for the school. That's our job. Thank you.
Jack, did you have a hand up?
I did. I think it's important for us to both acknowledge that administrators have their job and they tell us what they need to run the school. Our job is to set policy, but I do think it's important to make a couple of points. One, the board, when they hired Mr. Pratt, made it clear that we were looking for efficiencies in administration. It was part of the discussion we had, and the para staff was part of that discussion. Two, we asked for, approved, and heard the report of consultants that were brought in to look at look at efficiencies in the delivery of services. And this was an item that had been circled. Three, the board, by failing by only one vote, mine, tried to mandate a 15% cut in expenses. And I said at the time it was a contingent vote against that proposal. And I think that the administration had responded to that pressure, responded to that board-wide mandate to find efficiencies where they could, and they have done so. Whether or not these efficiencies stick, whether or not COVID changes those things, is something that the administration can determine on their own, and we'll hear them out. But we have had our part in this process. Whether we want to own it now or not is not relevant. We have pushed on this for now several years, and this is the recommendation of our administrators. And I think that we have to support giving them the flexibility to bring back those folks they need, but not to bring back those folks that they believe they can do without, because that has been the recommendation of the board to find efficiencies. That's the reality of the situation. I find it very weird to be speaking as a fiscal conservative in this environment, but here I am. Let's give the administration credit for working out what they need, and assume that there will be a difference depending on whether or not we have in school or in person. I should say in person or a remote teaching, because it's a different configuration of staff.
Priscilla, go ahead, Jason, please. Jason Terry.
Hold on. So I'm perplexed because on a personal level, yeah, obviously I want the pairs because I'm married to one, so that's kind of important. And so here's the thing. To Ms. Bannock's point, we are responsible fiscally for the school. That's our job. That's my job. That's what I signed up for. Right now, we let go 32 pairs or 36 pairs. Right now, the school's not even open. We talked about surveys a few minutes ago. We don't even know if the school's going to be open in the fall. I want the school to be open in the fall. I really want the school to be open in the fall for my children and for the town and for a lot of other reasons. But if the school, we keep talking about the pairs. If the school's not even open and we don't have any money to fund it, we don't need, if the students aren't going to be there for online or going to homeschool or whatever, we don't need half of the teachers we currently have or half of the administrators. So we're jumping the gun on so many things. And yeah, we have to plan also. So, there's a lot of dynamics here. So again, our job is fiscally to take care of the school. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Anyone else? Priscilla, do you have any additional comment?
Yes, it is also our responsibility to make sure that we are providing a good education, a good sound education for our students. And we might be able to, if the schools were in the situation they are in right now, go with the current level of staffing. But the governor has said they will be open. I believe totally they will be open. Our direction in the state has been totally towards that direction. And for us to believe in any other way, I feel at this point would be inappropriate. The fact we don't have the plans out there is disconcerting to me. And I do feel that we need to be looking at, you know, you can cut, but if you keep cutting, then you've undermined what we're trying to do for the children. And all I was asking was for the board to start realizing that they would be willing to say, you know, we're willing to support the program that is out there that will be good for our children, and be able to not say that cutting every bit out of it, because who knows where, you know, additional funds might come from in the fall, and the things that could possibly happen and change this to all go in the right direction. Thanks.
Thank you, Priscilla. Are we ready now for director's comments?
I'll go first. My director's comment will follow suit. And that no one on this board has ever said that we don't want to do what's best for the children. Our goal, everyone on this board gets on this board to, and everyone I know who's on this board's first purpose for getting here is to try to do what's best for the kids. And I think that second, some of us become in tune into what the best financial, you know, how do we best use our funds. And I don't think there is any person here, at least nobody that I'm associated with on this board, and I've been associated with most of you for some time now, is going to deny the administration any staff that they actually need. So I am totally in support of whatever staff we actually need to give the best education to the kids. And I can almost guarantee that everybody else that I can see on the screen right now is as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Jason Terry, you ready?
Yeah, absolutely. Rick, thank you. That was exactly how I feel. I think that you need to have the people to take care of what is needed, whatever that number is. And I know that we're actively trying to hire a business manager, and that person will take a look at efficiencies. And I'm envisioning, you know, that they're going to look at what the right number is, staff-wise or meal-wise or everything-wise. But you definitely need the right people on the bus in order to drive the bus. And those right people on the bus have to be in the right seats. And I've said that since day one. And I've said I'm for the kids since day one, and I'm for the town also. So, you know, thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Jason. Deb, are you still with us? Deb, right? Well, if you come back, Deb, we'll be happy to hear from you. Jessa? Jessa West Clark, are you still here?
I am here. Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts. One on the para discussion. Yes, we allow the administration to run these schools. That's what we hire them for and what we trust them for. Having done a reduction in force in April, if they then decide they need to add personnel come August, that would be a little upsetting to me, that they were unable to right-size their staff, but that's for another day. On a personal level, as a parent, the administration, the teachers, nobody has addressed next year a multitude of things, not even what the classrooms are physically going to look like, but the teachers have just repeatedly reassured us that whatever's done in the spring, it was fine. Kids are all going to advance to the next grade level and they'll take care of it then. Unfortunately, that is going to leave some teachers. My own child's in a combined classroom, it's third grade and fourth grade with a single teacher. We now have one para for the whole school in Grafton. So that single teacher with kids, there's kids that have fallen a whole year behind. And as Karen's letter pointed out, there's also kids that have done all the work, they've done enrichment work, they've actually done homeschooling with their parents. There's kids that are 1 to 2 grade levels ahead. There's kids that are 1 to 2 grade levels behind. That's a 5-year spread we're going to ask this one teacher to cover. And those are the kinds of concerns that parents are not having addressed. And that's why people are looking at homeschooling. And I really think the teachers have done a wonderful job with what was thrown at them, but it's really up to the administration to talk about educational planning and what they're going to do for each child at which level, especially because we've done the automatic promotions to the next grade. And I would really like to see more communication from the districts to the parents. Some of the things that were emailed out did not have clear explanations available on the website or even just replying to the emails. And there has definitely been a lack of communication with parents. And as a parent, that's my complaint. As a board member, I know it's been just crazy for everybody employed by the school district. But as a parent, I think we have not done the best.
Thank you, Jessa. Lynn, are you, Lynn Morgan, are you in the room with us?
I am.
Comment?
I have
Direct
one
comment?
question for Lynn Carey. Is there a meeting tomorrow or not?
There are two meetings, and I think I need to speak just a little bit more because people are jumping over the gate here or jumping the gun. The superintendent Pratt, has been working with the Southeastern superintendents, and they have developed a plan. The plan is developed. And if you want to look at a kind of an idea, it's the Maryland plan. This is the one that they're working on. And I know that it's called Maryland Together, the Recovery Plan for Education. And it's a COVID-19 response and the path forward.
Lynn, I want to cut you just a little bit short here because we are doing director's comments.
I'm sorry. So I just wanted to tell you that. there is a plan and he's got it and he's working on it. But I would think he just needs to finish it and it'll probably be finished within a week or so. So everyone's just very upset and nervous. And I just want to have everyone just settle down and trust because it will be coming and everyone will know. Thank you. And the meeting is tomorrow. There's 2 meetings tomorrow.
And those 2 meetings are, Lynn?
The meeting with, I believe it's with Secretary French, and the other meeting is with the superintendents of the Southeastern region to be finishing up that plan for coming back to school.
Lynn
But it's
Morgan,
not with us.
Hold on just a minute. Lynn Morgan, is that the answer to your question?
Those don't sound like they were board meetings. There's
No,
been
we're
a
not.
meeting that's been an invitation that's come to and canceled twice, and then I found it again on a calendar, but not on another calendar. So
I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the meeting for WNESU CSD. And no, there was no meeting. I thought there was a meeting, but tomorrow's the vote. So if everyone there lives in Westminster, Athens, or Grafton, please vote.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that. Sorry, David.
Anything else, Lynn Morgan?
That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay. Brenda?
I would just say that I agreed with Rick and the other gentleman, sorry. And it's very uncertain times, and there's a lot of transition in the business office and a lot of energy going into a lot of different areas of administration. So I think we need to be supportive of administration, but I also know that we can't really say what the future is going to be because even the state is not coming clear yet on it. So I think that we need patience and we need to trust. And I think that we as a board are advisories and also in regards to the fiscal. And I think that going forward, it's sometimes slower than we'd like it to be, but I think communication is the most important thing right now.
Thank you, Brenda. Charles?
I think Rick said it best. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, well, thank you for pointing that out, Charles. Jack, I don't believe.
I just wanted to, yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm sorry that some of our teacher members and our NEA members didn't decide to engage tonight. I think it would have been useful and worth it. I do want to encourage people in Westminster, Athens, and Grafton to show up and vote tomorrow, because the discussion we've had tonight about things like paras only get more fraught if we don't pass that budget. So I'm hoping that you all do. I've got to say it's 9:30 and I'm almost 4 hours away as opposed to 2 hours away from getting to Grafton tonight. So I'm trying to figure out if I'm driving or not. But I wish everyone well, and I hope that we have a successful vote tomorrow.
Thank you, Jack. Molly? I see your ceiling fans, Molly. Are you still?
I'm good, David. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Molly. Cheryl?
Yes, I think I'm unmuted. Am I? Can you hear me?
Very well. Yes.
Okay, great. Well, so I'm once again, thank everybody for thoughtful discussion. Appreciate the many people who joined us by Zoom tonight. I want to say that I'm among those who looks at the board's role as far more than simply fiscal responsibility. You know, we have a policy setting role and a role to help our administration and others be accountable for all the things that we as schools are responsible for. We pass policies having to do with children's health and well-being. We pass a continuous improvement plan to look at academic outcomes. We look at the restoration of justice approaches that are going on now. We look at a whole host of things. And the issue about the paraprofessionals right now is one part of a very serious puzzle that none of us have ever experienced before. That is the impact of this pandemic on children, on families, on whole communities. And this is one that takes all of us with goodwill, all of us listening to one another, all of us doing the best we can for our children, for all of those who support them. And so this is a discussion to be continued. I'm among those who truly believes we have to act soon, not wait. I'm well aware of all of that. So anyway, again, my thanks, and we're here to listen, and we're here to do what we can for the children of this community and all of those who help to make their health and well-being possible.
Thank you, Cheryl. Steve Fine, are you still with us?
I am, and I got nothing to say.
Duly noted, sir. Okay. I guess it's down to Priscilla and me. I'm going to give you the last word, Priscilla. And I have two comments. Number one, I did get my write-in vote. My absentee ballot in the mail today. But I delivered it directly to the Westminster Post Office, and in Westminster, we still have a Westminster slot, which makes us pretty unique, and I'm very proud of that. And the other thing I want to say is that I am quite well aware from reading through the AOE guidelines for school reopening that it will require much more staffing than what we've become accustomed to in the pre-COVID environment. And I have every expectation that our administration will ensure that we have the staffing that we need. Certainly, Priscilla, I believe, is absolutely correct, as our other board members, that we do need to be updated on how we're preparing for the reopening of school. I certainly hope we have a reopening of school. Furthermore, I want to say that even if we end up with another year where in-school education is disrupted, I'm also hopeful that we will have learned from some of the things that we've tried out this past spring, and double down on the things that work and look for more effective strategies where they didn't work. I'm an optimist that we're going to meet our obligations and provide the sort of education that our constituents expect us to be providing. So thank you for your time and hearing me out. And Priscilla, it's up to you now.
Okay. I am looking forward to the superintendent being at our next meeting. It's been kind of rough not having him at the last couple of meetings to be able to answer some of these questions. And I'm looking forward to him being able to outline his plan in more detail for us within the next week or two. As Lynn pointed out, she expected him to be able to do. Even in the next week would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. Agenda items for next board meeting. If there are any, bear in mind the fact that we are almost certainly looking at a special meeting between this meeting and our next regular WNESU meeting, roughly the same time of the month in July. If you could get that in, I would love to see it. Certainly make sure that you get a copy into Chris Pratt as well, and we'll do our best to accommodate that. And Lynn, right now, since you're effectively superintendent, maybe we should include you on that copy as well. I am not aware of any other business to come before this board. So unless there are any objections, I'm going to declare us adjourned at 9:29 p.m. Thank you all very much for your participation.
Thank you.
Thank you.